Alright, just got the prototype in for Vermin Vendetta with the expansions. So let's go ahead and bust this open. Oh, it's a hefty box. Get this out of the way. Here we go. Here's our game. Let's get into the shrink wrap now. This thing is jam-packed. So this is with all the different expansions in it of what's being planned for the Kickstarter. We'll go through some of these cards here in a second. Let's just pull all these out so we can see everything else that we got in here. So this is actually going to be the real side, or the real size of the tokens for the Kickstarter. So if I punch this one out, so this is the actual size of the components. With the actual prototype here, they're going to be much smaller. Everything's going to be a little bit scaled up for the final. So here's all the circle chips, and we'll get through those in a bit. Let's just get rid of that for now. Rulebook. It's looking nice. We'll dig into that in a bit. So see, here's the size of the tiles, and you can see the difference. So this one here that I'm moving, that's going to be the size in the Kickstarter. Through Game Crafter, I couldn't get bigger than this just because of the game boards, which we'll find here in a second. So here's the game boards. I couldn't get them any bigger from Game Crafter. This is the largest sheet of paper they have that you can print chipboard on without paying a crazy amount of money. But if you look at this, so the board size would be scaled up to this, so it's just a little bit larger, but it's large enough, these numbers. I like the larger numbers better. Alright, one of the new factions. So this is one of the expansion factions. It's the original faction, so they're all in here. The current back of the box. If I go with Gameland to print my game, I'm going to be putting the Gameland logo on here. I'll probably fit it right in here. Just move this text up a little bit. I want to move this in a little. I don't like how it's touching the edge. It's kind of wrapping around a little bit. So it looks like there was a bit of a misprint on this sticker on this box. So I need to make sure to account for that just in case it happens. I think professionally printing it's going to be a lot more reliable than Game Crafter, but it is what it is. Alright, let me go ahead and pause this. I'm going to break open some of the components and we'll go over this in a little more detail. Alright, well, I've unboxed everything. Here's everything, base game and expansions. There were a couple errors that I had. The leftover cards here shouldn't say cannot combine. I ordered new ones, and the trapdoor spider should be different on two different sides, and it's the same. So I fixed that as well. I just got them reordered, and I have to wait for those to come now. The new artwork for the hunger cards. So I'm happy with that. It looks good. All the game boards. So remember, this is base game and expansions, or at least the ones planned for the Kickstarter, provided we get to the stretch goals for them, but they're all here. This would be all the ones that you would get if you bought everything. Each faction, 41 cards. They have event cards, and then there's normal cards as well, which have the new backs. I'm happy with the backs. It's all looking good. Solo variant on the back, cooperative variant. With the base game, there's only going to be able to have a 2-player cooperative. If you add an expansion, you can just put another player board right there and it'll play just fine. It'd be a little longer with 3 people, but I've tried it before, it works. Everything looks good. Hopefully this is all getting caught in the camera. I'm standing partially in front of it. Make sure, yeah, you guys can see it. Just going through a couple of the cards super fast. One thing I'll say about GameCrafter is their cards are really nice. Getting solo co-op. Then there's the what's under all the tiles here. Then here's the solo player setup, cooperative player setup for where your boards go. The ones I was showing you is where that faction would go if you're playing against them. And again, we have all the tokens here. Or at least the tiles. These are all your bug tiles. Again, this is expansion and base game. And then I haven't punched the circular tokens out, but here are the circular tokens. Ignore the white ones, those are nothing, that's just off the thing. I'm going to just punch these out. They're just small little tokens to keep track of some of your missions. And one thing I hate about GameCrafter is you can see all the soot in my hands. They use lasers to cut the stuff, so you have to kind of take a paper towel to them a couple times and wipe them clean, or else you're going to have some dirty hands. We have the general cards up here. So here's all the general cards. There should be 5 of each card in here, and whenever you're playing, this is just, there's 4 different general cards here. The Kickstarter is going to have some extra ones in there. Whenever you play, you choose one of 4 different general cards, and that adds to your tech deck. It's to help beef up any strategy that you have for it. I did not take these out. Let me take these out. So if you want to play a certain strategy, you choose certain general cards to add to your deck. You still have to purchase them in the game, but they're the only ones you have options to get. And the ones that I have here are the recommended ones for start play, and I have that in the rulebook. So make sure you guys can see it. Here's the beetles, and they're double-sided. It's the same thing on both sides, though. The myriapods and crustaceans. The only reason crustaceans are included is because I really wanted to put the pill bugs with these guys. I think it just adds a lot for them. The ants. These are all base bugs that I'm showing you right now. Cockroaches, also base bug. Spiders, also in the base. And now here's the expansions that are planned. So, flies. Hymenoptera. I may be pronouncing that wrong, I'm not 100% certain. Thysanura. If I can pronounce this one right. Lepidoptera, I believe is how it's pronounced. Or Lepidoptera. Ladybugs, much easier to pronounce. And parasites. So, those are the ones I'm planning, as long as we hit the stretch goals in the Kickstarter to get. That's 6 of them. They'll be added with add-ons, but every time I add an add-on that you can purchase, I'm also going to be adding free stuff to the base game. If we look at one of the missions here, so here's one of the ants missions. Let's see if I can get it to focus on it. little dark, but you should be able to see it there. So this is overwhelming. If you flip it to the other side, here's the solo mission. So if you're playing competitively, you use the one side. You use the solo side if you're playing cooperative or solo. So all the missions are double-sided. They have a thing on each. I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to include more solo missions whenever I do mission packs. I may not, because the game's balanced around the solo game is balanced around the solo missions. The competitive game, I can make more of these easily, but the solo game is more puzzly. So it was actually really hard coming up with these and getting these to work right. Some of the bugs that are main missions kind of work both ways, so if you just flip it over, it's almost identical. But other ones, it took a lot of trial and error to get them to work just right. So I may not make more solos. I might, though. We'll see. But mission packs will definitely have the base ones. And if I don't make a solo on the other side, I'll probably give you an optional normal one on the other side. So the mission pack would probably be a 1, 2, and 3 star card with 2 options for each of the stars, which you can see in the top corner here. When you're playing the game, you're going to have 2 3 stars, 2 2 stars, and 2 1 stars in a regular game. However, if you are starting the game and you're not playing regular, let me find the Beatles here real quick. Here they are. Okay. So there are some missions, and I know the Beatles have one right off the top of my head, that cannot be taken out. So you're going to see a red star in the corner here, and there's some red text. This red text just says, must always have this mission. So there's an optional variant for first time players that you can play with just 3 missions, and your opponent, I believe it was to the left, I should pick, it could be right or left, it doesn't really make a difference. But they're going to pick from your missions which 3 that you have, and you have to complete those 3 to win. So instead of doing all 6, you're just focusing on 3 things. It takes a lot of the analysis paralysis out of it, so you know 3 things you have to go for instead of 6 things. Because sometimes keeping track of 6 is a little hard if you're new to the game. So here's the 6 missions for the Beatles. Now the opponent, whenever they're picking them, they have to get rid of options and not gather materials. Gather materials is pretty much a key factor for the Beatles. It gives them their one of their big abilities. So whenever you're playing against them, if you're doing the 3 mission variant, that has to be one of the cards included. And what this ability does, let's see if I can get this focused closer on it. There you go. So what it does is, for 6 DNA and an action, the green symbol there means action. If you use an action when on the opposing spawn point, then you get to place one of the den tokens somewhere on the board. Here's a den token. You get to place a den token on the board, and this den token acts as a home spawn point for you. So it's somewhere you can always spawn off of, and one of your missions, if you're playing the 6 mission one, is getting this den token on the board, and that's going to give you your mission, of course. So a little better look at all the stuff here. So each of these decks are 41 cards, the bugs. It's a lot of cards, tons of tokens. Mini tokens, general cards, hungers, resources. It's a lot of stuff there. Let's go ahead and look in the rulebook now. Alright, so here's the rulebook. So just looking at it, much better this time. Last time I had it printed, it shifted and the text was almost at the tip here, and this was way up on the bottom. This print is a much better job. Very nice and clean. I'm liking it. The arrows actually line up this time. Didn't line up last time. And that wasn't on me. I didn't change anything in this part of the book. It was just a shifted print. I think a couple of the pages shifted whenever they printed last. I cleaned this up here. I made this a little lighter. It reads a lot better for the anatomy of the turn. Added the 5-player setup. It may look weird, but I did measure things out and I tried to balance it as best I can. The thing about the 5-player setup is it's just a strange setup. These middle boards here can alter, but the player boards need to be where they are. Like the ants need to be where the ant is. Cockroaches need to be where the cockroach is. I guess you could play it other ways, but that's the way that I tested it and it seemed to work the best. And of course, nobody's going to want to let the jelly bean be right beside the ant, so you'll get a chance to move that. Oops, I missed one. It just felt like I was sticking. I tried to be as clear as possible with all the pictures in here. I did run this through some blind play tests and everybody played correctly, so that's a plus. Doesn't mean that I didn't miss something here or there, but I don't think I did. I've been going over these rules with a fine-tooth comb for a while. Let me check the grass and make sure it's updated. Must have been a grass bug, +1 to that bug's combat values. Can have most 1 when a bug attacks or is used in this. Yes. Okay. The grass just changed not long ago. I noticed it was being underused, and I buffed it quite a bit, where the tokens will stay on the bugs. They used to go away at the end of, or at the beginning of every turn, but this works better. The poison tile you won't see in the base game. It's in the book though. It is in one of the planned expansions. Here's the poison tile. It comes with the parasites. Also things like the silverfish, or the what classification? Because it's silverfish and fire brats together, which was. Sorry, I don't have these classifications all memorized. Vicinura, or Vicinura. But this one here, you get the poison tile, the poison on the tile, and again, these are double-sided also. So you have options of how you want to set up. So you can set up along one away from an edge, or you can set up from center point. And you can spin these in any way that you want. They don't have to be oriented like this. They can be oriented in any direction. But the poison is in a couple of it's in at least the silverfish and the parasites. Sorry, blank there for a second. Let's keep going through this. And then I got the new solo and co-op mode rules here. A couple variants, 2 vs 2 variant. The first game variant that I was talking about with this beetle card here. The ants also, I believe, no, I think the ants and all the cards can be changed. There's another faction that has the spiders. Spiders have a card that you have to keep with them too, because it's the one that lets them do webs, and webs are a big part of the spiders. Oh, yes, I wanted to go over the solo ability as well, because that's a newer thing too. Back of the rulebook has every power in the game. This is from all the core and expansions, and all planned future expansions as well. when I was designing this game, I designed 21 different factions. This is just a small portion of them, but all the powers that are going to be in the whole game are on the back of the rulebook. Alright, let me find a solo ability, just so I can show one of the big things I like about the solo here. Okay. So these are the same front and back. Make sure you can see that there. So these are the same front and back. And what it is, when you're playing solo, you're going to get a special ability that you always have. For the myriapods with crustaceans, you can use an action to lay a little myriapod token down, which are these tiny little round tokens. You can place one of these, and the Kickstarter guys, these tokens will be bigger too. So let me punch this out. So here's the size for the Game Crafter version. The Kickstarter ones are just slightly bigger, but they need to, you stack them on the cards. So, but this ability lets you put them on the board spaces. So if we had this board space here, you put that there, and then when you go to spawn, even if you're not near that space, you can remove this and spawn on that space. It can ignore any other spawning rules except the space has to be empty. So you can't spawn on top of somebody else. So if it's like this, you could still spawn there. Normally you can't spawn adjacent to an enemy bug. But in this case, they would remove this, spawn whichever bug they want, whatever facing they want. Of course, I still have to pay the spawn cost, but that's how that works. Every faction has a special ability like that. I've thought about making special abilities for the competitive game, but the competitive game, you're gaining your special abilities mostly through your missions. The missions will flip the other way, and you get the ability down here. Now, in solo, you also get abilities for completed missions, but the game gets a lot harder as you complete them. So, I may do an expansion giving static special abilities like the solo to the competitive, but it's not planned. I think the game plays just fine without them. They're neat to have in the solo game because they make it feel very different, and a lot of the solo missions are based around those special abilities. Like the ants lay scent trails down, and they have to, a lot of their missions are do certain things with that scent trail. It's just a fun change of pace. Hope you enjoyed the unboxing video. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back here sometime. Have a good day.